see. And cognitive diversity is also very important, because what happens when you have maybe a whole team of people who are big picture thinkers? They're always thinking about the possibilities. They're distracted by those new shiny ideas. What are some of the problems with that? This can be interactive, so just shout out.
Nothing gets done.
Nothing actually gets done. Yeah. It is just something where it's a big idea fest all the time. And if they're not intentionally trying to be more of like executing thinkers and actually taking the initiative to do something and get it going, or at least delegate it to others, then things don't get done. But then what happens with the other side of the brain? If people are always just thinking about like how we do things and what the process is, what do we lack in a group like that?
Like our vision or direction.
Yeah. Yeah. And maybe like more innovative thoughts, thinking like in risk-taking ways and things like that. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so the importance of influence has anybody heard of Think and Grow Rich and Napoleon Hill? Yeah, so he has this famous quote: "The ability to influence others without irritating them is the most profitable skill you can learn." So this is really important information. All right, next slide, please. Okay. So we all have a natural influencing style. And if you do take the predictive index, this will be something that you'll actually see on that report is your natural influencing style. Next, click, please. Sorry, guys, it's a lot smoother when I get to drive, but I don't know what's going on. So these are some of the things you'll see. So this person, Amy, as you can see here, connects very quickly, very motivated. She's enthusiastic, a persuader. She can be intense. Maybe it could look aggressive or very assertive. Has a sense of urgency and like intensity. Can tend to be informal and really cares about relationships. So what are some of, if you could just think like, how would I influence Amy if I was either trying to sell to her or partner with her or get her to go to the restaurant I want to go to if we're friends? How might you, just off the top of your head, knowing what we know about her, how would you want to influence her?
So I would honestly work the way she works. I would say, hey, if I wanted her to meet me at a restaurant, why didn't you meet me at 4 o'clock on Tuesday? And we'll get together for a glass of wine.
Yeah.
And just be direct. What are we doing? Where are we at? As opposed to giving her options and saying, hey, why don't you pick a time the next week and let me know it works for you.
Yeah.
I always do mirroring techniques. Whatever the person's personality is, I try to mirror it, and it usually breaks down walls very easily.
Yeah. So can you explain mirroring to us, Chris, in case people don't know?
Mirroring is basically if somebody's in an agitated mood, the only way you're going to get through to them is by engaging with them with a agitated mood also. And that usually helps break down their wall, and then you can calm it back down and control the conversation. Same thing like mirroring when you're having a conversation with somebody. If they're laid back in their chair like that, if you visually mirror the same thing with your body, it puts them in a relaxed state and allows you to connect with them.
Well, I think that that's a great point that you just shared. Like you are literally like doing a subconscious body language tactic to influence somebody. But also when you said, like, if somebody's agitated and you mirror that like agitation also, that may see, like some people might think, oh, why would I want to act agitated? Well, because it's kind of irritating when you're agitated and you want somebody to be on your team with you and like I'm so frustrated by this, I'm annoyed by it, and the other person is just calm and seems like everything's going to be fine. That's actually kind of irritating, right? Like you want somebody to get there with you. And so you don't have to be like unprofessional, but just you can show empathy in acknowledging their agitation, right? Yeah, because then people feel like, oh, I feel like this person is connecting with me, or we are connected in our shared emotional response. That was a great example. Okay, next slide, please. And one more. or sorry, just keep going, sorry. So, okay, some of the things, thank you, Bob, that we measure with predictive index are patience, and that is a drive called C. So I'll explain this if we ever have a call, if you guys take the assessment. But that's actually what measures, and this is a psychologically validated assessment, it measures urgency or stability. And so like those are on opposite ends of the spectrum. And it's not to say like you're all or nothing. We actually have a graph where you're like on a continuum of like, are you super urgent or are you super stable or kind of in the middle? I am moderately low patience. So I have like a moderate need for urgency and to like get things done and be proactive. Sometimes that looks like maybe I shoot then aim, you know, but there are other times when I think about it and I do want to come up with a process before doing so. Then we also measure orientation. Is that people oriented or task oriented? So those are two other drives that we measure. And that is how we use those then to kind of come up with how we influence a person accurately based on their patience, their urgency or stability, and their orientation. Are they going to be facts and data driven, or are they going to think about how it makes everybody feel people oriented on the team? Next slide, please. So this is sort of the continuum of how we do that. So there are multiple influencing styles, and you can see on the x-axis, we are measuring patience. And so if you are on the far right, people are very stable, calm. They like to have a process. They really want to think things through. They have to know the why behind something. Why are we changing things? I don't want to change things just for the sake of change. I want to think about it and know what the process is. The opposite end, urgency, is somebody who is like, let's just get things done and do it now, be really proactive. I kind of like change just to see what'll happen, just to have a different environment. I don't really need the familiar all the time. So just seeing that continuum right there, where do you think you would fall? Are you more urgent or are you more stable? Or are you in the middle? Is it just a situational thing?
I think I'm probably in the middle to urgent.
Middle to urgent, yeah. Mm-hmm.
I probably fall that way too, but I struggle with the orientation part where I am.
Okay. Yeah. So the orientation is, so we can be really people oriented. Are we like focused on how people will feel? How does it impact everybody on the team? What will they think about me if I make this decision? A lot of it is like, I want to be liked. And so I want to make sure people are on board with this idea or this change versus task. So, you know, it doesn't mean that you don't care about humans. It just means that what is really going to impact a decision is the orientation to focusing on like, you want to get things done, have them done right. You need to have your influence over something. You can make a decision kind of independently rather than getting a harmonious decision from everybody.
Right.
Yeah. And with that one, so those are two drives, and my drives for those, the A drive, dominance, and the B drive, extroversion, they're very, very close to each other. So I'm kind of in the middle with that too. I'm slightly more people oriented, but I really do care about having influence over things and getting things done. So with that, where do you all think you would land?
I'm at the top of the task thing then.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's okay. It doesn't mean you don't care about people. It just means that you have an orientation to get things done and have them done right. What about anybody else?
I think I'm probably again towards the middle, and I would
Mhm.
waffle back and forth between task and people.
Okay.
I could really probably go either way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's fine.
Mine
Like,
depends on the situation at hand
mhm.
to decide which is more important on this.
Yeah,
Maybe who the audience is. And then I
yeah.
think about, you know, work related versus like home related stuff
Mhm.
is probably going to be a little bit different. But I
Right.
think I'm
Mhm. Yeah. And most people do fall close to the middle. Like when we actually like look at the science behind all of this, in like the middle, like -1 sigma to 1 sigma, close to the midpoint, is like 65% of the population. So the farther you get, it's just less likely to be on an opposite end of the spectrum. Okay, next slide, please. So these are then the styles. So you can look at which quadrant you might be in. So I'm personally mostly in the expressing quadrant. So I am mostly people oriented and I'm urgent. And so I'm going to be very expressive. And usually like when I meet with new clients or people, like the first thing people usually tell me is, well, you're not lacking enthusiasm. So, and that's true. I'm enthusiastic. If I like something, I'm going to like sell it. I mean, for example, I won most referred clients to my dentist 2 years in a row. And so I got an iPad I didn't even know it was a competition. I just really liked my dentist. So if you're looking, and then the second year I won it, they were like, well, you got it again. And so then I just got a gift card. It was great. So it really has paid off. Yeah. So that's like what it looks like to be an expressive style of influence. I'm excited. I want to sell something. I want to relate and connect with somebody. And I want them to make the choice that I'm suggesting. So I'm still like kind of close to that controlling, because I do care about my influence and having things done my way. So that high dominance level. So kind of close to controlling, but mostly in the expressive quadrant. Now, what about you guys? Which ones do you think that you might be in? This is a conversation, so chat away.
I've taken the disc before, which is a little bit similar. And I think that I fall in the bottom corner, but in the controlling quadrant.
And the bottom corner.
Like closest to the axis.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But definitely controlling.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So urgent and task oriented. Okay. Anybody else?
I think you and I are a lot alike.
Oh, yeah. Enthusiasm.
I just want it done my way and enthusiastically.
I'd find myself in the analyzing quadrant. I'm definitely task oriented, and I do have some sense of urgency, but analyzing occupies a lot of my time.
Okay. So then you'll notice that is the opposite corner of the box from expressing. So like we are the most different. So it would be the most challenging for you to then act like me, an expressive person. And it'd be the most challenging for me to be like analytical and to get into your head. Because whatever is like kind of the opposite sides of the X is what's most difficult for us to then flex to. So I'm actually working with a client now or a prospect, and I'm trying to get them on board and work with me, and he's in that quadrant. So if you have any advice for me, I'm always open to it. But so I have to be a little muted. I can still be myself, or I'm not saying anybody has to change exactly who they are. But I need to remember, he's not going to care about all the exciting people-y stuff and do it right now. He's going to really think things through. He's going to measure the risk. He's risk adverse. And, I need to like remember that and like sell to those things and influence in those ways, because he's analyzing every little bit of our interaction in that way. And he's not going to work with me. I'm not going to be able to influence him if I haven't analyzed the data and communicated in a way like that.
I tend to be like Randy, and I will tell you, when we deal with people like you, we find some of that enthusiasm to be hyperbole, and it can be frustrating sometimes.
Yeah. It might even be a little annoying, huh?
Well, sure.
Good. Yeah. Yeah. So I try to not be like that exactly with him. Like I promise this is like genuinely me, but it's not going to influence him necessarily in the same way. Anybody else? And if you don't know which one you're at, that's okay. You can always take the assessment.
I always tend to, like I said earlier, it depends on the situation, who I'm talking to, and that's the one I choose. And
well, what's your natural style though? Like,
yeah, I don't fall anywhere.
You don't fall anywhere? You have to, but you have like your own cognition. So you would fall somewhere if you're not thinking about it. Maybe you're cooperating because you're like, well, I don't know, I'll just do what you want.
Well, I'll take the test and we'll see.
Yeah, we'll have to see. Okay, Brett is saying, hello, Brett. Oh,
More on the task
somewhere in the
axis.
task. Okay. Yeah.
I can talk if I need to. I
Yeah.
feel like I'm probably somewhere in the middle, left to right, but probably I'm definitely more task oriented to the point where I have to make a conscious effort to do the people side of things.
Okay. So this is a way that you can be aware that you do need to flex in that way because people want to feel cared for.
Yeah, I struggle with that one.
But yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to ask a question.
Mm-hmm.
Do you find that you see between the two genders, do you see men falling into one, task versus people, or people versus task, or vice versa?
I feel like a lot of people would think that, and I'm not exactly sure what the science shows there. It might be a little bit that way, but I haven't necessarily really found that in my experience working with it, because dominance or task orientation is actually something that doesn't always look like a masculine trait. It can look more like, because like I'm dominant, I want my way, but I'm going to do it in a more feminine approach, I guess. I'm still going to like use like nice words and like probably check in with people as I'm trying to sell or as I'm trying to influence them, and just those like the feminine touch. So I think it's probably pretty split, but it just looks a little different based on the sex of the person or the gender of the person. That's a good question. But actually, so this tool, predictive index, has like no bias. And so like no bias against people of color, no bias against different genders, things like that, because they actually test all the words in the assessment to make sure that they don't have a gender association. And so if they start noticing that culture has like done that to a word, we're getting into the weeds, but there was a word that they recently removed a few years ago and they changed it to something else because it was only women selecting that word. So then they're like, okay, this is not an unbiased word now. I think that was like maybe devoted or something, and only women were selecting that. So I think they changed it to committed, something like that. And it was a more gender neutral word. Yeah. Psychology. It's fascinating. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so this is assertive Anne. So as you can imagine, she has which orientation? Do you think she's people or task oriented if she's really assertive?
Task.
Yeah, task oriented. And then do you think she's quite urgent, or is she patient and stable?
Urgent.
Yeah, she's going to be urgent. So if you were influencing the Anne, what questions do you think she might ask? We have some on the screen, but.
What's the deadline for this?
Yeah, what's the deadline?
When do you need this by?
Yeah. She's going to be thinking too about how can I win and look good in this situation. So for influencing to her, we want her to, we want to actually say that. We want to let her know, like, here's how you would win and how you would look good and how you would achieve your goals. All right, next slide, please. Okay, so people who are controlling, the key word that is important to them, so people like assertive Anne, they need to see results. Click, please. So we need to be thinking about not our world and how we influence what's natural to us. We need to be thinking about Anne, and if she's caring about results, she is going to need these following things. So she's going to need to save time and make sure everything's efficient because, hey, she is urgent. We have to support their conclusions. So I'm not going to necessarily want to argue back and forth with somebody like this. If they think something is a certain way, it's not going to go well for me to try to change their mind or have them come up with a different conclusion. But instead we have to like work around that because they're a competitive person and they're assertive. We have to give them options because they're going to want to make the choice. So that if you're selling to somebody like this or just trying to influence them in any way, you may want to give them 3 different options that they get to choose from because then they feel the control in the situation. You also have to be very efficient because they don't want to waste time. Remember, they're urgent and they're thinking about tasks. They're not going to necessarily be somebody who is really thinking about, well, how do you feel through this? And then their specialty is control. They're going to be somebody who can just really tell needs some control. Click, please. So tell me about these characteristics. There's some on here. What do you think we would see in people like assertive Anne?
These are all really good characteristics.
Huh?
I said they're all right here, probably what I would think.
Uh-huh. So they're not gonna dilly-dally with making decisions, right? They may look a little brash. Has anybody ever worked with somebody like this or tried to maybe sell to or influence somebody who's controlling?
Yes.
I have. I didn't know what I was getting myself into.
I find people like this move with a certain narcissistic intention.
Oof. They could, yeah, if they have not very self-aware and if they haven't done the work, yeah, it could look pretty narcissistic.
I love working for people like this.
Are you being sarcastic?
Not at all.
Oh, okay.
I love, tell me what to do. Tell me when you want it. We will get it done.
Okay. So it sounds like you've actually found a good way to interact with people like this. And maybe you are influential with them because you like it. Okay, that's
I'm
great.
a little like them, yeah.
Yeah.
Without
Yeah.
seeing somebody's test results, how do you know what you're working with until before you engage?
That's a great question. So I have a lot of my contacts take the assessment just from the beginning because I love to know about people. That's actually kind of the Kickstarter of like how I got into my whole business is I was so frustrated that I couldn't just understand why people did things the way they did. And like, I'm kind of sensitive, my feelings would get hurt. And then when I discovered Myers-Briggs first, that's the 4 letters, ESTJ or something like that. And so I started having all my friends take that and it helped me understand them. So now that I've been familiar with so many different kinds of personality assessments and I'm using PI now and it's scientifically based, I can a lot of times pick up on just from people's behavior and words they use, ways they email, how quickly do they get back to me. If they're like getting back to me really fast, if they walk fast or talk fast, maybe use their hands and stuff, I think I know like they're probably more of a low patience, urgent person. And if somebody is like wanting to just like chat about stuff like unwork related, they're going to probably be more people oriented instead of task oriented. So you just pick up on little things like that. But I've had a lot of practice. Yeah, that's a good question though. So some of their needs to be, and we are really running low on time. Oh, we do have a hard stop at 9.
Take about 10 more minutes because we had those technology difficulties.
Okay. I'll try to go through this. Thank you for that. Big picture, they need autonomy. This is not a person who's going to want to be controlled. And this is actually really important to remember when it's somebody who's not necessarily the leader, because guess what? It's not just leaders or like people in their 40s, 50s, and 60s who are controlling, who are running the business. You may have entry-level employees who fall in this quadrant. And so really remember that because you're not going to influence them if you don't give them autonomy. We have to remember that, hey, even young people right out of college or millennials or Gen Zers, remember, they could still be in this quadrant and there's nothing wrong with that. You can still guide them and teach them and mold them as company leaders, but we have to remember they may be prompt and they may be fast-paced and brash or something. And it's, there's a degree of what's okay and what's not, but it's still good to give people like that autonomy. That's what they need. And you're not going to influence them or retain them in your organization if you're not giving them those things. So we have to remember that. So remember to be really direct and to the point. Sorry, Rebecca says, I know we had some time. Okay, Rebecca, we'll connect later. Thank you.
Yeah, I've set us for Monday.
Okay, thank you. All right, have a
Hey
good
guys,
day.
see you later.
Bye.
Yeah,
Okay, next slide, please.
Whoops.
Okay, so this is Detailed Dan. So Detailed Dan, what might he need? Tell me about, so this is the analytical type. What questions do you think he might
All
have?
the numbers.
Yes.
All the information.
Is he going to make a decision?
Counter. In our organization, we call that the bean counter.
Oh, the bean counter. That's funny. Yeah, so they're going to make sure that they're doing the right thing. Do you think that they take risks quite easily?
No.
Nope, they don't. They are not, they're not risk takers. And they would like to like read about things, get the research, and have proof. So do you think they'd be somebody who maybe asks for like references or testimonials? Yeah. All right, click please.
Sometimes there are people who avoid making decisions or delay a decision until the moment has passed. Because they're stuck on. So I'm an analytical person, but I also understand things have to be done, and so at some point you make decisions. So some of those people are actually interfere with the process.
Oh, that's a really good point. And for somebody like me who's very opposite of that, I need to remember that this could happen. So it's going to be a longer sales cycle. It's going to be a longer and slower process where I actually need to use a process, because it's not just going to be like a fun conversation where we're like chatting about our families and friends and weekends, and then we like each other, so we're going to just like move forward. You know, I need to remember this person's going to analyze everything and they want the data. Okay, so that keyword is information. That's how we influence them. Click please. So their world, remember, we don't focus on our world when we're trying to influence somebody in this world. Their world needs accuracy. They're risk adverse, so they're going to take some time to think about things and really measure the risk versus the reward. We need to support their facts. So if they know that there are facts and there's data around something, let's not argue it. Let's embrace that and use that to also influence them, to bring data to them. Give them proof. So I'm working with somebody again in this quadrant, and they asked for references and they want proof that this stuff works. And so I had to give all that to him. Now, when I work with somebody in a different quadrant, they may not want all that stuff. They're not even going to read it. They trust you. They know, like, and trust you. That's good. And this person isn't going to want that. They want proof. They're going to be a really precise person. So not necessarily as spontaneous. You've got to schedule stuff with that person and remember that they need the information presented in a really precise way. It should not be confusing. That's going to lose their respect. So their specialty is more technical. They're not as people-oriented. They're going to care about the tasks at hand. Click, please. All right, so what is standing out to you on here about characteristic, needs, and communication? Anything stand out to you? That might be a challenge for you working with somebody like this. Or Randall, that you notice about yourself that you'd like to share.
I think it's kind of interesting to imagine that when I'm approaching this person, I almost want to approach them like through someone else, someone that they maybe like already have vetted and feel safe with, or, it's not a cold call, because I think that is harder for them, like, to take that risk.
Yeah. Yeah, that's actually a good idea. Would you analyzers say the same thing?
They tend to need less rapport building.
Yeah.
And more just get to the black and white facts.
Mm-hmm.
It's difficult for me because I find myself in this category to work with people who need rapport building and need to develop the relationship earlier than later or not at all.
I see. Well, I think that you flexed really well when we first met each other, because we talked a lot about like Mizzou and people we knew and things like that. So
I'm a work in progress.
Yeah, well, that's great. You sound self-aware. So yeah, again, remember their communication style, like he's saying, is logical. They don't need all that rapport building. They want some real solutions. What does the data say about it? Okay, click please. So this is nice Ned. Which quadrant do you guys think he might be in? So he's not expressive. He's in the cooperating. Yeah. So he might be like, well, I don't know. Let's see what everybody else thinks. I want to make sure everybody's happy. How's this going to impact the team? Like, oh, it's up to you. Have you ever asked somebody for advice and then they say, oh, it's up to you? And it's like, obviously it's up to me. It's my life. I'm just asking you for your opinion. And it's harder for them to give their opinion because they are, yeah, that's fine. But what's important to nice Ned, you can click the next slide. is relationships. So this is the kind of person who they really need that rapport building. It's important to be able to share about themselves and connect with you on a personal level. And if you skip this stage with somebody in the cooperating quadrant, you're probably not going to influence them because they just don't know and like and trust you yet. You have to get that. It's not going to come through data and logics and analytical risk stuff. It's like, it is, hey, did I like you? Do we both have a dog? Do we go to the same school? And they could care about, data also, but it's important to make sure there's a relationship with this person. Click, please. So remember, in their world, it's not just important for them to get a win. They want harmony on that team. They're cooperators. So they want a team win. They want to make sure everybody's on board. And this is a great leadership style in certain instances. I've actually worked for a leader. Our boss, like 2 people above, had gotten fired. We were in the busy season at work. And the person who was the next person in charge, who then started leading our team as a vice president, was in this quadrant. And you might think, oh, this might be awful. Like, he's just going to always care about like making sure everybody's agreeable and in harmony. But it is actually what our team needed at the time. He was a very like cooperative, like team decision maker. And so he like kind of let everybody in a democratic way contribute to what we were going to do as a team. And we had a more successful year that year, which was really interesting. But they're going to care about relationships. We need to support their beliefs. If we just say, hey, this is going to make you look good, or here's a bunch of data, or here's the risk versus reward, they're not going to necessarily care. They really care about their people, and they really care about having like a harmonious assurance on that group. You guys know anybody in this category? Anybody here in this category?
My husband is.
Oh, he is.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of nice to have somebody like that. That's nice, Ned,
Kind of, but I'm over here.
Yeah. So you have to, but this is going to help you influence him. Make sure that he understands, or, you can play to that cooperation and play to having it be a team or a family win. All right, click, please. All right, what stands out to you all on characteristics, needs, and communication style?
Again, I think
Conflict averse, sometimes that's a problem.
Would you say that again, please?
Sure. Being that they're conflict averse in their communication style, sometimes that's a problem.
Yeah, because they're avoidant. Right.
Expanding on that, so often people will take questions and or searching for understanding as conflict.
True.
People that are in this role have a hard time digging in on something sometimes, and so it's man, I struggle to catch that quick enough, and then all of a sudden the person's defensive, and it's like, what how did we get here, so that's just something that conflict averse is. It's not just that, it's that they'll translate language and they'll prejudge intent to be conflict when it's simply seeking understanding or digging into something.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
That's a great point. So what's a way that we can ask those questions and that kind of thing in an influential way? What would you do with your voice if you were going to ask some things that might be a little conflict?
So this is me communicating with my wife, so I'm getting lots of practice, and I suck at it. But tone, facial expression are huge.
Yes.
And then speed of questions is huge, because oftentimes just if they're an internal processor, then you can't put that with this, then it really blows up. So you have to go slow. And the other piece that I'm trying to find the words, you got to ask the questions in a way that's worded such that the people don't take it on themselves. Right? So you have to really work hard at pulling it over here and going, so I guess an example would be like, why did that happen, or why, what causes that? Those are questions that this person goes, if they don't know the answer, they're like, what are you fighting about it? So it's
Right.
like, hey, I don't know what causes this. Do you have any insight into what caused that? Or could we talk about what caused that? Which to me is such a waste of words and time. What caused it? Let's go,
Mhm.
So that's, I guess, my example. I
Yeah,
don't
that's
know.
an awesome example, actually. Thank you for sharing that. But it sounds like you're actually getting a lot of practice because you hit all the nails on the head. Like it sounds good. I mean, yes, it's tone of voice. So literally make sure that your voice sounds friendly and calm. You're not going to influence somebody with a loud voice, talking too fast, and sounding really, really direct, because you can be a direct communicator and clear communicator and also be gentle and kind. I do not believe those are opposite sides of the same coin.
Right.
You can do both of those. And that's the only way you'll influence people like this. That was a really good example. And I like that you asked a question with that person, like, what do you think caused this, rather than what do you cause that, or what do you think caused this? It's, and even like facial expression. That was really important too. Yeah, because that's actually something that people are going to respond to, even subconsciously. If you have a scowl, or in your, we got the 11 wrinkles or whatever. Do you guys have those? I'm getting them. And we have that scowl. I'm not going to influence people who need like freedom from conflict, and they need stability, and they need a good relationship, because they're not going to feel like they can trust me, and they probably won't even like me. So those great examples. Thank you for that. All right, click please. We're on our last one. So excited, Emily. So who's this like? It's a little bit like me. So hi, so glad to meet you. Really excited about stuff. What are we working on? Who else is on the team? What are other people doing? So if it's like, I'm trying to sell to Emily, she's probably gonna be like, well, who else is using this, and what results are they getting? And like, do I get to hear your references and testimonials from them? But not in a way that's like, because they want all the data and the analytics, because they want to see what's everybody else doing. Like, I want to be social. I want to like relate to others. So if other people are doing it, I want to hop on board. Click please. So this person's key word is excitement. So you are going to be more influential with an expressor if you show your excitement and you actually connect with them. I have like, if somebody's selling to me and like they are just being dry and monotone, I'm not going to get excited too. And so I'm probably not going to want to partner with them. So remember that, like, if you're working with somebody like Haley, you need to show a little excitement. It does not have to be ingenuine. Just, if you can use a little bit of voice inflection to show some excitement and like smile, that is actually really, really helpful with somebody like me. Okay, thank you. So remember, their world needs encouragement, applause. They probably want to know, like, if they did something well or you like something about them, compliment it. Say, oh, I loved that presentation you did. What a cute blazer. Like, you can always say things like, and then that's more of like woman to woman, but you can compliment somebody's like clothing in a non-weird way, like that is not a Me Too statement. You can say, what a nice blazer. And you did a great job professionally on this thing where you used your brain. Those are great things to compliment people on. So save their effort. They don't want to just get exhausted by all the data and analytics and the like database stuff all the time. Give them good company. Be somebody they want to be with, they want to hang out with. And you don't have to not be yourself, but just, remember that you're trying to influence that person. So you got to show some excitement, and you need to mirror them. Like, was that Brett who was telling us about that? Somebody was talking about mirroring. So be interested in what they're interested in. If they are talking about their weekend at the lake and you think this is a waste of time and this is just a little annoying, hey, if you're trying to influence them or sell to them, it is not a waste of time. It's an investment. And remember, try to be authentic in your care for it and your excitement. You don't have to go on and on for 30 minutes about their boat or their trip or whatever, but ask a few questions. Just try to connect with them and relate to them. Be interested. And their specialty is being social. So they're going to want to have a lot of interaction with other people. They want to be able to talk with others. So do you think like this pandemic world where we're all just connecting via Zoom is ideal for the expressors?
I had one of my staff that is very much this say, I wish we could just stay on Zoom all day together. I said, no.
That is so funny. Some organizations were doing like group co-working sessions where everybody would just turn on their cameras on Zoom and like work on whatever they wanted to, but then they could like unmute and talk if they had questions or just wanted to share something. And I think it's interesting. It might work for certain people, but some people would not like that. Okay. What are some of the things you notice about influencing an expressor with their characteristic needs and communication style?
So again, with my staff members, I have learned that I definitely entertain their ideas, even though there are a bazillion and I have to weed through and navigate that there's just that kind of commendation. But I've also learned that these are my connectors. So like they are in the community and they are doing really incredible things. And they are absolutely driven by the story. And so if we can develop a good story or they hear something really powerful that happened, they are going to communicate that incredibly well to other people to energize other people.
Such a good point. Yes. So remember, like in the needs there, then they have the need to connect, the need to have an opportunity to influence. Let them be in the community. If somebody is on your team and they're an expressing personality, let them have those opportunities. Otherwise, again, you can't retain them and they're not going to feel, you're not going to be able to influence them because they don't have the opportunities they need to actually use their gifts and strengths. They need an opportunity to share their ideas and to be influential and to connect with other people. So give them those opportunities. You need to understand the stuff about the people on your teams, potential clients, anybody you want to influence. That's something we have to do all the time, is influence, negotiate. That is how we move through life successfully, right? I know we're way over time, so just a couple more slides so you guys can connect with me. Click. So these are the backup styles. Last kind of thing, when people become uncomfortable, if you are not catering to those needs in each of the areas. So a controlling style is going to get really bossy and assertive. It's not going to look that great. They're going to be telling you what to do. It's probably just not going to be an opportunity for you to influence. An expressing type might attack because they're feeling offended that, remember, they're social. They want to be liked by others. And they need things quickly, so they could attack. They could start defending themselves. Cooperators might just give in, but they're not doing so in a way that's actually going to buy or happily go along with whatever idea that you're trying to go with. They're just going to give in because they want to avoid what? Conflict. Everybody's thinking it, I know. And analyzers will avoid. So they'll stop returning emails. They'll stop returning your calls. They may avoid you in person at the office because you're just not giving them what they need. Okay, guys, thank you so much. Questions? Feel free to send me an email. It is on the next slide if you want to click that. I know we're over time, so thank you. Oh, keep going. So if you sign up at my company website, vaxacollective.com, there's actually a free guide that gets emailed to you for 6 ways to actually improve your team's culture. So the actionable things you can do in order to improve your team culture. So you just have to go to the website and sign up there and then click one more time. These two events are opportunities to hear again. So if you're looking to hire the right people for the right roles, if you're doing any of that in your organizations, I have a Zoom webinar at June 24th at 9 a.m. You'll see that on the events page on my website. And then we have another one July 8th. So how to make your one-on-one meetings more productive. And we'll have a free template too for one-on-ones. So an actual template of what to go through on a meeting like that. Again, on Zoom. And then, sorry, go one more, click again. So these are some of the things that I do. I use predictive index, behavioral assessment. I also sometimes do stuff with Enneagram or Myers-Briggs. If you ever have a new leader coming on board, that's doing a new leader integration is a really cool process to use to get that person on board. And then I do all of these other things with clients to help them have more productive workplaces and have high-performing teams. So you can always email me about that. Click one more time. And this is how we can connect. Feel free to send me an email at haley@leadwithperspective.com. And if you have if you have LinkedIn app on your phone, you can actually just open your camera, and that is a QR code that will then open up my LinkedIn profile if you want to connect with me. It's really, really cool if you haven't tried that before. So connect with me on LinkedIn, Haley Grayless, and I would be happy to set up a meeting with you guys. My meeting scheduler link is in the chat box in Zoom, so feel free to use that. Take the predictive index. I put the link in the chat box also, and I will send you your behavioral report. You can set up a meeting with me and we can go through it, and I can help you understand your influencing style. And feel free to connect with me about anything else that's culture, leadership, or team building related. Any questions?
Haley, first of all, thank you so much for being here today. I know I speak for the entire group that
Thank you.
We're so happy that you were able to share with us, and I'll reinforce that this is a treat for us because this is Haley's business, so that she would find the time to share with us what she normally sells is not taken for granted. So
thank you
so much. If you would send me those Zoom links, I'll promote that to our iWorks membership. Our couple hundred businesses that we've got in here, we have a weekly missive that I send out. So I'd be happy to share that as well. I don't want to put you on the spot, but I will anyway. Is it okay if anybody on this call wants to get a copy of this PowerPoint? Can I share that with them?
Yes. Well, let me send you an edited version because we didn't cover a lot of it. So I'm going to remove the crap that we didn't cover.
I saw that. Okay.
Yeah. So let me just send you a different version.
If anybody wants it, put your email in the chat and I will send out a copy of it to you once I get the edited version.
Yeah. And reach out if you have any questions about this, because I know we had to go through some of it quickly. Sorry for the technical issues, but thank you for your patience.
Yeah. Thank you for being here. For those of you who are still with us, thanks for coming today and participating. We'll look forward to seeing you all next week. We are beginning to plan for back in-person Coffee Connects. Watch for some information on that. We're shooting for after the 4th of July, probably coming out that first Wednesday after the 4th of July. But obviously everything's uncertain, but that's our intent right now. So
great.
Thank you all for being here, and we will see you next week.
Sounds good. Thank you all so much. And thanks so much, Bob.
Thanks, Haley. Appreciate you.
See you guys later. Sorry I joined late. Bob, you always wear nice blazers, so I had to say that.
I don't have a blazer on today. But I do have a dress shirt on today, which is
yeah, I know you don't have one on today, but you almost always have a blazer. It's your trademark. So I actually put that in the chat. Nice blazer, Bob.
Yeah, it is my sort of my personal.
It's your uniform. Yep.
Personal branding. I'll give you that. Nice catch.
Yep. Good marketing, my friend.
You know why I do it? Since you brought it up, I'm going to bore you with why I do it. It's like my purse, right? I carry everything in it. I don't need a purse.
Oh, I missed your word. I got it.
Utilitarian and stylish, right?
Right.
And Rachel will tell you where I buy most of my sports coats.
At thrift stores or resale consignment.
Very nice.
I get all the best buys at Hillcrest too.
Yeah, I do that every once in a while. I have so few. I've tried to do that, and I'm a polo guy. I don't even like button-down shirts. I force myself to wear them because they blouse out on me, and I hate that. So I like untucked, or I don't know. So I'm trying to figure it out.
Not buying the right fit. You got to find the right fit.
No, I do buy the tailored fit, but I just hate it when it comes untucked. From a car to a. If you never sat down, I don't mind a button-down shirt. But once you sit down and get up, and it's like, I'm like, hey. So
I thought I overthought stuff.
Yep, exactly. So analytical, whatever. Controlling.
In your world, you've been on my mind. What are we looking like for school next year?
Me?
No, I was talking to Brett.
Okay. That's a great question, Bob. If I had the answer to that, I'd be maybe more important than I really am. So we're just waiting. I noticed that Columbia Public Schools came out with a statement yesterday that they're offering their kids two options. You're either all 100% in person or 100% online. Those are your two choices if you're a student. Yep. And for June 9th to put out that statement and to make it that black and white, that was very surprising to see. So we'll see what the ripple effect looks like and how that kind of makes its way across the state. But the truth of it is that everybody's winging it. Nobody has a clue right now what it's going to look like. And if I was a betting man, I would say plan on some blended options where you're going to be in school sometime and not be in school other times, and it's going to be a mixture.
Seems like that would create.
So have you guys started seeing enrollment in CAPS yet, or?
Yeah, our enrollment was done in February, March, earlier this spring, and so far, so we're starting to collect paperwork from kids, and so far it's been pretty good retention. I mean, very few people that we've had that have said that they're not going to come back or not going to come to us. I mean, no more than a normal year, I should say.
Got it.
What school district are you with?
I'm with lots of school districts. So I'm the director of Northland CAPS, and we work with 16 high schools and 9 districts up here north of the river. So we work with almost all of them that are within driving distance of North Kansas City.
Okay. Great.
Yep. So I don't know. I mean, and we'll have to take, Bob, to finish up answering your question, we have to take all those school districts, their policies and procedures into account, and we have to take our business partners' policies and procedures into account. So